All right. Thank y'all for being here. And I mean that. I appreciate whoever's paying for y'all to fly or drive, whatever you did to get here. Appreciate that. And proud of our team, proud of our staff. And I want to say our team, I mean the guys that are back home. We only traveled 70. Scout teams did a great job this week. All our support staff. And it takes a village. We had a good week of weather at home, but it was in the 70s. We come down here, it's mid-80s, and that takes everybody from nutrition, strength conditioning, sports psych, the whole deal. And, just really proud of the team, players, and staff all the way around. And we've got a resilient group. And if you've been paying attention to us all year, we've been a group, even when bad things happen, we've always responded, and I said this on our press conference on Monday. We were really close to being a 6-1 team coming in this game, and now we're really close to being a 7-1 team. But we've been resilient. We've been able to bounce. We've been able to bounce back when bad things happen, and I thought that was again today, guys. We had some guys get hurt. And we played 2 backup linemen for majority of the game. We had a couple receivers went down. We played a bunch of different receivers in the game. Linebackers, we rotated some guys that hadn't played before. And so, Riley Collins came in and played, and we had a bunch of different faces on special teams. But the group is really resilient. And I told them this, and I really believe this as a coach. We earned this on Tuesday and Wednesday. And when we brought them back, we mixed up our week last week. We practiced on Sunday. We won't do that the rest of the time, but we practiced on Sunday. And when we brought them back on Tuesday morning, the group had energy, man. They had really good energy. And I think that speaks to our leadership. But, again, I think it speaks to the leadership coach-wise on each side of the ball. But we earned that. And I thought really what it came down to is, our brand of football when we're playing well is we're disciplined, and you can see that. We got 4 penalties in the game, and 2 of them right at the end. We're careless. 4 penalties, fundamentals, and I think that shows up in time of possession offensively because we're not doing things that hurt ourselves. We're a team that plays really hard, and you can talk to any opposing group. We play really, really hard. The thing, we're tough, and I already talked about the mental toughness, but we're physically tough up on both sides of the ball up front. And we didn't tackle as good as we need to today. It was better than last week. But I thought we really did a good job striking people. And the last thing is we play relatively smart football. There's a couple things that we got to get corrected. I love Garrett. There's a couple things he's got to be smarter about, and he's learning. But that's who we are. And I think the stat that I sit in here last Saturday after a disappointing loss and said the one stat that really sticks out is points off turnover differential, right? And that's something that we had worked a ton because you go back and look at who wins games in the Big 12. Everybody talks about the turnover margin, but that's true. But it's really what's the differential, all right? Who scores points off turnovers and what's that differential? And we worked a lot of it in the spring, into fall camp, and today that was the reason we won the game. We had 21 points off turnovers. All right, our takeaways. We call them takeaways. Central Florida call them turnovers. We call them takeaways. We scored 21 points, and that was the story of the game. So
Neal, you look like you were pushing this pedal right from the beginning. A 4th down in your own end, and you go for it. It hits. So Did you go in with that mindset that we're just laying it out?
Yeah, we were going to be in attack mode, man. I told him my message to him last night. And I usually don't talk to him on Friday night. I usually wait till Saturday morning, but I want him to understand. 2 things, and the first one was we need to be the most excited to play, and not just when everything's going good, but throughout the game. And I thought we had great energy. The second thing is I love basketball. I use a lot of basketball references, and I was telling him a story about Mike Malone and the Denver Nuggets last year in the finals, and him talking to Jamal Murray, and he was like, "You're a shooter." Shooters shoot. And that's what I was telling our guys. We're going to shoot. Shooters are going to shoot tonight or tomorrow. And that was the mentality. We were going to be in attack mode. And I think you can't just, as a coach, you can't just talk that. You got to show it. And so, we went forward on 4th and 1, in our own territory to start the game. Because I knew even if we didn't get it, they said, hey, he said we were going to shoot, and here we are. Same thing. We went 4th and 2, and we called the pass play. We were going to attack and shoot a shot in this game.
So all that said, is that a tough choice, though, that deep on your own? I know you say it, but when it comes down to it?
Because really basically we've ran the ball really well, okay? And CJ had a different mentality this week, so I had a lot of confidence in him. And they've had some issues stopping the run. So we go into it, and the data analytics, in which I go into heavy on Thursday, kind of think about it, and by Friday afternoon, I pretty much know how we're going to play the game on fourth down. And so made the decision, on Friday, hey, we're going to be really aggressive. We probably would have gone for it 4th and 1 back to maybe the -30. But that was the kind of thinking. Felt good about our ability to run the ball.
Defensively, with all the absences you had in the back end, that changed the way you play a little bit in the front end, try to contain a little more, try to not let guys get out the gate there, make them drive the field?
Well, what we did is we played a lot more base defense. We two-gapped a lot up front. We put some more pressure on we tried to clean up the picture for our linebackers, and try to two-gap. We can run in a bunch of bodies. That's one area that we've got some depth. We showed that depth today on the D-line and on the O-line. But we got some big bodies. Thought it cleared up. Linebacker-wise, thought we played better. We're limited on what we can call, due to personnel right now in the secondary because we're thin.
Having said that, how big was it to make those big plays in the secondary, getting the receptions, getting the turnovers? Beanie Bishop has played outside of one game. He's really played well for us. I think he was leading the country in maybe passes defended, which I don't know if that's necessarily a good stat. That means he dropped some interceptions, right? But he's really cleaned up some of his ball skill habits. It's really not. It's even at this level, it comes down to it's pretty simple. When y'all teach your kids, like if it's above the waistband, your pointy fingers together. Below your waist, pinkies together. And we're actually taking that and using it, and we actually caught some interceptions today. But no, Beanie's played at a high level. He's been around the ball a lot. And so, that was huge, especially the first one we got because they were driving, and then we immediately turned that into a touchdown.
What's the value of having guys like Nick Malone, Jaquay Hubbard, that they can give you a series, they can get you out of the game if need be? Yeah, well, they've played a lot of football. If you look back, going from Penn State on, Malone and Jaquay, who are, on paper are 6th and 7th, they played a ton of football, and Malone's played a lot at tight end too. So those guys. So it's really not. You don't blink when they go in. There's been times in my career where I'm like, like you gotta really think about how you're going to call the game. But we just kind of rolled with it. We had a little lull there offensively. Really, the only time in the game was there in kind of mid to late second quarter. We didn't play as well as we could, and that's kind of. But other than that, I thought we played well, and we really controlled the game. Yeah, you're good, Mike. Mike, you got on the road, man. Good to see you.
You mentioned before a lot of games, you kind of script them out in your head on how you think they're going to go. Did this game kind of meet that in terms of maybe goes back and forth, maybe needs some turnovers to flip things?
Well, I felt like, we were going to need some takeaways. They're good on offense. They do a good job. Some of the areas where they're good, we've got some issues. And so I felt like the key was us getting first downs on offense. Like this was a game we had to control the clock and get made first downs. And I felt like if we get made first downs, we'd eventually get first downs. They made it hard on us. They played in the secondary a little bit different. They made it hard on us to get some of our shot plays. The last 2 weeks we've really thrown the ball down the field well. But they made a couple really nice plays on the deep ball, and it was windy. It was a factor today. And so it played out in the fact that we were able to control. I think it was 36 to 24. I mean, and we were 9 of 15 on end of possession downs. They were 10 of 12. That's not very good for us. But we were able to stay out there, and those first downs eventually led to touchdowns.
Did you like what you saw from your running backs? Did you like what you saw from your running backs today?
Well, I thought this was CJ's best game since Pitt. And when he runs like that, man, he's a load. And the thing that today was he was so good after contact, even on that last drive. He was so good after contact. He was upset. He wanted to score a touchdown on that last drive. I was like, that ain't the way we're going to roll.
Garrett's toughness, what it brings out in everybody else around him, they see that.
Yeah, I love the kid, but some of his toughness, he gets himself hit. You know what I mean? Like Jed you played the position, so I love his toughness, and I mean this is we've got a shot every week because of him. So every game we play, he's going to give us a shot to win the game. All right, but he's got to play within himself, and like the one where he got smoked and got the win, he should have handed the ball off. the end runs 3 yards up the field. Like, hand the ball off, you know? And we go into the game, and that's the other thing, Mike, I should have said, is we put a ton on Garrett in this game. Like, we ran him more. We did a lot more read stuff than we have in the past. This is really what we planned on looking like, but he got hurt, and so we put a lot on him. So you know he's going to miss one or two, but they can't be egregious, right? And that was egregious, and he got smoked for it. But he's got a lot of toughness, and kids follow him. Nestor got a lower leg injury. We're going to get it looked at when we get home. As far as seriousness of it, it was pretty swollen, so we'll see.
When you first came here, Neal, you said a team truly becomes a team when the players have the ownership, that it's not you. It starts out, you build it, it's you, the coaches, but when it becomes the players, that's when it's good. How far are you down that path?
Well, this is the best group we've had, you know, and you think about it. Now, we've got some guys that have been in our program. You know, like when we roll out there for captains, you know, Lee's only in his second year, but Aubrey's been here 3 years. You know, Zach Frazier's been here 4. Sean Martin's been here 4. Doug Nestor has been now, he's in his full 3rd year. And so, you know, those guys have been in our program. And so, offensively, that's where we've kind of been. You know, our O-line is our hardest working group, right? And they've really helped push our D-line. Our D-line's turned into our second best position group, okay? But between Doug and Zach and Wyatt to a lesser, because Wyatt's he's not as vocal yet. He will. But those guys, because they're great players, because they're good people, and because they're some of our hardest workers, man, they really influence that. And then Garrett is one of those type kids too. And then on defense, you got Sean and you've got Aubrey, and then Lee is really improving his practice habits. That's where I told Lee after the game, like, he really, I thought, did a nice job bringing the defense back on Tuesday and Wednesday, because he practiced so hard on Tuesday and Wednesday, it puts pressure on the people around him to practice with that same intensity.
Just on the running back note again, how would you evaluate Jaheim?
Yeah, it gave us a spark. And this is really what I thought after fall camp that he would be. You know, he and when you play true freshman, it's always a trust deal. And he's taking care of his body better, so he's able to practice on Tuesday and Wednesday, get the reps, and then still perform on Saturday now. But he's not making errors and stuff that really could be absolutely critical errors, like not picking up his guy in blitz, right? Aligning wrong. He's not making those critical errors. He did a little bit last week in practice, so that's why he didn't play as much. But this week he was locked in, had a great week, and, man, he really played well. Had 9 for 85. You know, that's a really good game.
Okay, anything else for Coach? Thank you very much.
Safe travels home.